Born with visual impairments, blind individuals face challenges in their daily lives as well as difficulties in finding suitable educational and employment opportunities. In order to support them, many social organizations have been established in Vietnam, including Blind Link. These organizations are especially effective thanks to the dedication of volunteers who are willing to contribute their time and energy to bring about positive change in the community. Among these devoted volunteers is Ms. Marin Walter, a piano teacher for the visually impaired at Blind Link. By creating professional music lessons and performance for the blind, Ms. Marin has made significant contributions to the development of the visually impaired community in Vietnam.
Welcome to Station Vietnam on VTC 10, and I'm your host, Khiem. In today's talk show, we are going to explore an inspiring journey of bringing music and light to the visually impaired community in Vietnam of an American pianist. She is currently also the director of music and promotions for the Hanoi Currents, which is the music band where performers are all the Vietnamese visually impaired. Please welcome to the show, Ms. Marin Walter. Thank you so much for joining our programs today.
Well, hello everybody. I'm Marin Walter. I'm originally from the United States, but I've been living here in Vietnam for just over 2 years.
So you have been living in Vietnam for 2 years. How do you feel about our country, especially our people?
Oh my goodness, I love Vietnam. I don't want to leave. I would like to stay here longer if I could.
So I can see that you have special love and dedication for the blind in Vietnam. So can you share with us how did you know about Blind Link and become a teacher there?
When I first arrived in Vietnam, my shipment didn't come of my household goods from the United States, and I was looking for a piano to play because I missed playing piano. This was one of the streets that I just happened to walk through before I got my home. And every time I walked by, I heard a piano through the window. So one day I stopped in and saw this beautiful grand piano. And I asked the assistant here, could I practice it? And so I just started coming here and practicing. Miss Hung, the manager here, pulled me aside one day and talked to me a little bit about Blind Link's mission and asked me if I would be willing to help her instruct them in piano and other types of music. So that was my introduction to Blind Link.
I was informed that when you were at university, you majored in psychology. So how does this major support you when working with the visually impaired in Vietnam?
Oh, in so many ways. I love psychology. I loved it as a major and I've loved it as a job as well. And I think one of them is just having a lot of acceptance and a lot of value on the many different ways that people learn, and the optimal and being open to the optimal ways for people to learn and environments for learning, and finding creative ways tailored to individual needs to help everyone learn their best.
What is your special teaching method specifically designed for the visually impaired to help you communicate and teach them more effectively?
Well, with this specific population, and I think it might be different if I worked with a different population of blind and visually impaired, but they are so well trained in their kinesthetic awareness, so the ability to feel, and also they're highly trained in their understanding of the anatomy, so they understand optimal musculoskeletal alignment, how well the spine is aligned. They understand tension in the neck. They understand the body because that's their job. And my background is in injury preventative keyboard techniques. So my background is how do you use your body best at the piano most efficiently for the best sound. So a lot of what we do is very hands-on. And in the beginning when I'm teaching them technique, they have their hands on me and I'll come in and out of good technique. I might hunch over or crane my neck, or I do something that is in alignment and I have them touch me and pull me back, assist me back into alignment, and that helps helps me know what they know.
So, in fact, teaching requires a lot of patience and creativity. So can you share with us, during the time working with the visually impaired, have you ever felt discouraged, and what motivated you to keep working for such a long time?
I think the only time I have felt really discouraged is when I felt like there was a concept that I couldn't communicate because of my own language barrier. I'm not a native Vietnamese speaker, and so I said, yeah, the music and the sense of touch, all of that helps me communicate, but sometimes when there's a moment in real time where I feel like I just want to be able to communicate with greater specificity, that will be a little bit discouraging. But I have found that again, that moment of frustration is sort of a genesis for greater creativity and more ideas, and also an awareness of where can I branch out and ask the students, and come together kind of in a more collaborative way to come up with that type of communication.
Ms. Marin Walter currently serves as the Director of Music and Promotions for the Hanoi Currents, the music band of visually impaired musicians formed by people at Blind Link. With her expertise in piano, she has provided tremendous support to the band, helping them with piano lessons, rehearsals, and coordinating various instruments to create polished performances. With the members, she has organized many meaningful performances, offering the visually impaired the opportunity to showcase their musical potential, build confidence and pride in their achievements. The band's carefully prepared performances have left a lasting impression on the audience, raising people's awareness of the abilities and potential of visually impaired individuals.
So can you share with us how was the music band established, and what are the main activities of the band?
So I would say that we were officially established last fall, but really the work had begun before last fall. So when I started here, I was just teaching piano and a little bit of vocal technique. That was it. We had an open house, and for the open house, some of the students brought the instruments they already played. They brought bamboo flute and saxophone. Mr. Ting brought his mono string. There was a dancer. So they brought them to me and said, could we use these for the open house? And I listened to them. I was blown away at how musical they were with these instruments they had already played on. And I learned a valuable lesson as a teacher because I'd never asked them to play me their instruments before. We were so focused on piano. Ting, who's one of the lead massage therapists here, is tremendously musical, and he had worked with them in the past, and he actually had a vision for them to be a band. And I just sort of walked into it, and it was a nice merging of sort of talents and strengths.
Is there any special moment or memorable experience that you want to share with the audience?
I feel like we could do a whole show on some of these experiences. We were preparing to play at the ambassador's residence, and it was a very special performance. And U.S. ambassador's wife, Suzuko Napper, and Indira Gumrova, she's the Czech ambassador's wife, were helping me with this. We were collaborating together. And they came, Miss Suzuko and Miss Indira, for a rehearsal, a dress rehearsal. We'd been working very hard, and part of the performance was that the audience was going to listen in the dark. They could wear blindfolds so that they could experience music without sight as well, just like these musicians do, for a sense of enhanced perspective. And so Miss Suzuko and Miss Indira came to listen for our performance, and this was only days before the concert. And they had some feedback, and we needed to tune some things up. And one of the things that we decided to do, this was 2 or 3 days before the show, one of the things we decided to do was change the opening song, which is the song. This is what invites the audience in. And this is when we will have asked everyone to wear blindfolds at this point. So we were going to change the opening song, and it was a piece that we had played at a Christmas concert. I wasn't feeling well, and so and Mr. Ting is basically my he's basically my assistant teacher at this point. Ting is wonderful. He's so helpful. I was not well enough to come up with an arrangement on my own at that point. I was working with other things, and I asked Ting if he would come up with the arrangement. Within 24 hours, he arranged the song, and Sun, our bamboo flute player, in 24 hours, changed it and knocked it out of the park. He did such a good job. And again, it was just one of these moments, I think, of just the beauty of collaboration. And it was just one of these moments where I felt like the coming together, the collaboration, the teamwork caused something even more beautiful to bloom. And I felt like it was a shining moment.
What are the impacts of the performances on the visually impaired community in specific and the whole society in general?
Well, I hope it's raising awareness for some of the discrimination they face and some of the unfair biases. Often people don't know that they're blind and visually impaired when they perform. We don't talk about it, we're not announcing it, we're just coming out there as performers. And part of what I'm trying to do is if there are any unfair social biases, unfair stigmas, that people just relate to them as musicians, not as anything else. But right now they're a musician, and they're a highly skilled musician. And I think the more I work with them, and the more I work with Miss Cong, the manager here, and I understand it's not that they experience this type of discrimination or unfair negative biases from everybody. It's not that they do, but the fact that it exists at all bothers me, and I think it's unfair. And so I hope that as they gain these very professional opportunities and they play at a high skill level that requires a lot of discipline. It requires a lot of discipline, it requires a lot of commitment, devotion, time to tear up and to be ready to play at this level at a concert, and then to not be anxious and nervous and to hold the performance all the way through and to work together. That requires a lot of backward steps, and they have all that, but they also have, you know, the joy and just the raw fun at the concert. So I guess what I'm hoping is, I hope people question any unfair negative biases they might have. I hope it's an opportunity for people to maybe enhance their sense of empathy and explore a little bit of like what challenges some of the blind and visually impaired experience on a daily basis, and also have a better understanding of the many ways that they contribute things of incredibly high value to their small communities and to community as a whole.
As the director of music and promotions for the Nguoi Currents, can you share your future plan and also the direction of the music band in the future?
I think that's also unraveling in real time, because one thing that we're always trying to balance is, how do we make this sustainable for them? How do we make it sustainable and still produce an original high quality product as they move forward? And that is like our question for this year. How do we make this sustainable so that they can keep going and have these great performances, and they can simultaneously continue on and do the needed hours as massage therapists?
Okay, thank you. I think that is the end of
Yeah,
our talk
thank
show
you.
today. Thank you so much for your time and meaningful sharings in our talk show today. And I hope that in the future, Blind Link and the Nguoi Currents will further develop, allowing the visually impaired in Vietnam to show their talent and live their dream. That is the end of Station Vietnam today. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you soon in the next episode.